What's up, Kyle? Thank you for hopping on the show. It's good to have you.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be here.
All right. So why don't you give a quick introduction about yourself and how you got in your adventure with Pinata?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pinata. I co-founded Pinata all the way back in 2018, very much before NFTs became a huge thing. But what Pinata is it's the home for NFT media, which means we help manage whatever the files are associated with an NFT, whether that's the images, videos, whatever it is. And the way I got in the space is kind of like a bunch of other people. I got interested in crypto back in the day. So like 2015, 2016, was on Reddit, on subreddits, reading about crypto, and got really interested in smart contracts with Ethereum back in 2016. And I was, just kind of spending time there, and eventually just became confident enough to quit my job at the time to jump into the space full time. Didn't really have a plan of where that was going to go, but quit my job and started traveling around to hackathons and all sorts of things like that, and eventually came up with the idea of Pinata along the way.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, what is your perspective of an NFT? Is it like a formulas or is it form?
Yeah, so the thing that I love about NFTs is they can be used for anything. So when we started Pinata back in 2018, we weren't specific to NFTs, but um, what we did realize early on is that NFTs could represent any kind of piece of data or any file you could imagine. So that's pretty flexible in our opinion. And so, in the beginning, it was just simple images that NFTs were, and now what we're seeing is that NFTs are actually becoming full-blown applications. So people are uploading full applications, attaching them to NFTs, and then providing the service or whatever the application is doing with that NFT. And so what we get excited about is you can take these things anywhere. We believe ultimately any piece of data, any file, any application can be an NFT. And it is the future of how data and files are going to be transacted. Every piece of data, every file is going to be attached to an NFT, most likely on IPFS, which is the protocol we use. And then those pieces of data, those files are going to be traded and transacted attached to NFTs. And so we think it's a super exciting space, and is going to go much beyond just simple images and videos, what you've seen so far.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm super excited to see where it goes next. Now, you mentioned IPFS. Does that have to do with off-chain?
Yeah, so IPFS or the Interplanetary File System, is a protocol that Pinata runs on top of. And the reason IPFS is in this space is because storing data on chain, so storing it on the blockchain, regardless of which one, is actually really, really expensive. So if you wanted to store just like a gigabyte of data on Ethereum, it would cost millions of dollars to do so. And so what people do is they use IPFS because of some security properties associated with it to lower that cost associated with storing data. So again, whether it's images, videos, whatever you can think of, people put it on IPFS. It lowers the cost, but keeps some security properties that are good for blockchain, and just makes it much easier and much less expensive to actually manage data associated with blockchains.
That's awesome. And you guys have a thing going on with Brave. How is Brave helping with IPFS?
Yeah, so essentially with IPFS, it started in 2014, and it's a peer-to-peer protocol. And so what Brave has done is actually embedded an IPFS node in your Brave browser, so you can actually
Mhm.
connect IPFS nodes together. Um, so you could theoretically connect your nodes to Pinata nodes or other IPFS nodes, and you're also able to choose your own what's called a dedicated gateway. I won't get too deep down into the technology, but you can choose dedicated gateways such as a Pinata dedicated gateway, or I have my own dedicated gateway called Tut.com
Mhm.
that allows me to serve content on the IPFS network through the Brave browser, which is really exciting and great for IPFS adoption.
Okay. Okay. Now, how can users apply custom domains dedicated to IPFS gateways?
Yeah, for sure. So to back up just a little, what Gateway does is it's really good at like serving content from the IPFS network. Usually, if you're interacting with an NFT, there's a high likelihood that that content or that media is on IPFS, and you're actually experiencing it through a dedicated IPFS gateway. And so what people can do with Pinata is they can show up to our website and they can actually spin up their own gateways and apply their own names. Like I said, mine's kyletut.com. So any NFT that I end up creating, I actually use these dedicated gateways to serve that content. Whether it's images, videos, music, whatever kind of content I want to serve related to my NFTs, I use these dedicated gateways to do that. And a significant portion of the NFT space actually uses these things to do that.
Okay. And on the website, you guys have tools that Piana provides. Is it simple to use? Can a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old get navigate through the website?
Yeah, absolutely. So we tried to make IPFS as simple as possible for anybody to use, and it's where quite a bit of our kind of success has come from. We started out as a developer tool, so we had a technical API that developers could use to upload content to IPFS. And what we did is we actually ended up making a simple user interface so that anybody could actually use it. So non-technical people, me being non-technical myself, I couldn't use the API, so I wanted like a interface that I could upload my content to. So what we've seen is a bunch of NFT creators out there use our interface to upload their content to IPFS and ultimately to Pinata. And then they take that content and then they will attach it to whatever their NFTs are. And the cool thing about IPFS is that it works for any blockchain. So we get to see people using Ethereum, Solana, Tezos, all of them, all the blockchains out there to upload their content and then attach it to NFTs, and then they will manage their content from Pinata for the NFTs that they've sold.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm not really technical savvy either. And ever since I got involved with blockchain technology and crypto, it's really it kind of forced me to get knowledgeable about
Yeah,
hashing
there's
and everything.
Yeah, there's obviously an amount of just technical background that you have to have in crypto. And I think one of the cool things about, I've been in the space full time since 2017 is there's been huge advancements in not needing to be that technical. I think the growth of NFTs itself kind of shows that the space is getting easier to use, but it's still not quite there. There's still some things that could definitely be easier to use. So we're excited to help with that process, but also to see the space advance and make it easier for everybody else.
Exactly. And then there's always room to grow. Like not everybody knows everything perfectly in one subject. So you always constantly got to trying to learn something at least every day. And
Absolutely.
so what is the future of token gating?
Yeah, absolutely. So when the NFT space first started out, everybody in the NFT space actually assumed or kind of operated with this idea that all the content was going to be public. So if you saw an NFT, like a Bored Ape or something like that, that image related with the NFT was public and anybody technically had access to that content. What we saw very early on in the NFT space is that people, didn't want just public content. And so what they started working on is trying to do private content associated with NFTs. And that's where this idea of token gating comes from. What we saw in the space is NFT projects like 10K PFP drops and things like that were using Discord to try to gate content. So what they would do is they would be like, hey, you need to own one of my NFTs. And by owning that NFT, you get access to a private Discord channel. And by having access to that private Discord channel, you could get access to private content or exclusive content associated with that NFT. And us at Pinata being, at the end of the day, we help serve content and manage media on IPFS. We were like, hey, we can actually just kind of simplify this and make it much easier where people could upload content to a private IPFS node, and then serve that content based on whether or not that person owns the NFT. And so that is what the concept of token gating is. It's allowing or giving access to content based on whether or not you have that NFT sitting in your wallet. And we think it's a very powerful concept that's going to kind of take over the NFT space moving into the future. And we think it's going to be very much the norm where all content or most content associated with NFTs actually will be private. And you just simply check in your wallet, do I have the NFT? If yes, I get access to the content. If no, then you don't get access to that content. And we think, whether it's exclusive content like music or access to applications, we think token gating is going to be a basic building block of NFTs. And our submarine feature is actually built specifically with this in mind to manage content based on whether or not you own the NFT.
Okay. That's really neat. Now, explain how people are going to use assets and consumables in the metaverse.
Yeah, so at Pinata early on, we were struggling with this idea that all NFTs were valuable. We didn't think that was necessarily true. And the reason for that is I actually created my first NFT in 2018, and I'd written my first blog about NFTs in 2017. And so I'd been thinking about NFTs for a long time, and I realized that all these things they weren't all valuable. The price of them shouldn't go up. And what I had to kind of process and think through is like, okay, what is an NFT? And ultimately what we decided is that NFTs can be anything, as I've kind of alluded to. And so if you think that is true, then you realize that an NFT could represent an asset, and an asset could be something like a building, or a piece of property, or even like an LLC, like a LLC to run a business is technically an asset. But it could also be something like a consumable. A consumable would be something like a cup of coffee, right? And so if we want to use this coffee analogy, an NFT can represent both the ownership of the coffee shop itself, the business of the coffee shop, but it can also represent the consumable of the cup of coffee. And the thing that is obviously, interesting about consumables is ultimately they go to zero, right? When you buy that cup of coffee, let's say for $4, as soon as you have it, technically you do own it. You have, you have control of it. But most likely, as you drink it, the price of that coffee is going down, and once you drink all of it, it's going to zero. And so once we put it in this frame of assets versus consumables, we realized that not all NFTs are created equal, and they're not all the same. And by dividing them or separating them out into these kind of different arenas, it gave us a clear view on like where we think the space is going to go in the future, which is, there will be asset NFTs that have value and will increase in price. And those are going to look a lot more like applications or businesses. And then there's going to be NFT consumables, which will go down in price. And like once you use it once, it might might never have access to it again, right? And so we think it's basically going to be everything above, it's going to be everything that's going to be an NFT. And so you just have to realize what it is, and that kind of helps protect you in understanding that now, this probably shouldn't actually be worth, let's say $1 million or whatever it is. It should only be worth $5 or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of the paradigm that we've created at Pinata to analyze what type of NFT we're working with.
Okay. Is there limitations to what you're looking to help people with their NFTs?
Yeah, so we don't handle minting, and it's kind of been a unique position for us as a company. We've never done the minting itself. Instead, we have marketplaces or minting platforms actually integrate with us to manage the content and the media, and they handle all of the minting associated with the NFTs. And we like that because we want to be experts in making sure that when you're viewing your NFT and interacting with your NFT, you're having the best experience with the content and the media. And then we let the minting platforms and the minting projects focus on innovating with the NFTs. The other unique thing we've found is that a lot of these projects want to create their own contracts, their own NFTs. And if we were to come in and say, hey, this is the type of contract you should be using, a lot of them actually wouldn't use that contract anyways. So it puts us in a nice position to get to focus on the content and the media, and they get to focus on building cooler and better NFT contracts.
All right. Yeah, earlier we were mentioning about, like, you mentioned something about real estate in the metaverse. I was just thinking of my friend. He's actually into real estate, actual real estate in the real world.
Yep.
And he's like thinking about going into the metaverse and buying real estate. And I was just thinking that was pretty cool how things are more evolving towards technology, and how he's going to be able to make money in a different arena in technology. So
yeah, no, it's a very cool concept. And I'm not a speculator or anything like that. I don't flip, I guess, NFTs, if you will. But the idea of there being more valuable places associated in the metaverse makes a lot of sense to me. The other interesting thing we've seen in the NFT space is people are trying to use NFTs to represent real property. And what's interesting about that is it's actually a very difficult thing to do. And the reason for that is anytime you're trying to connect a real world thing to an NFT, there's always the risk that the NFT doesn't actually do a good job of representing that, let's say, piece of property. And the reason for this is because at the end of the day, you need really good data to represent an asset or represent something. And it's very difficult to get good data associated with real world assets to represent NFTs. And so what we like to see is how people are trying to make that connection between the real world, if you will, and digital NFTs, and how can you do that in a secure and reliable way.
all right. Now we're coming close to the end. Is there any final words about NFTs that you want to bring up before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, just what I would say is I really do think NFTs are going to be full-blown applications. So instead of going to the App Store or the Play Store, you're probably going to go to something like Opensea, and that's actually where you're going to interact with and get new applications, which is a really exciting kind of paradigm and a cool way to think about things. And it really kind of opens up how you think about NFTs and how people are actually going to be able to monetize and build businesses associated with NFTs. And that's the thing we're most excited about is how do we help people build businesses using NFTs and help them be successful doing so.
Excellent. Hey man, I really appreciate you coming out on the show. I had a really good time talking about this, and you definitely helped me gain some knowledge about NFTs and blockchain technologies and IPFs. And I know you're a busy guy. You're dealing with blockchain. It's got a lot on your mind, man. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
you're up to your eyeballs with things to do. So thanks
absolutely.
again, dude. Thanks again. And
Yeah, thank you.
best of luck with your endeavors.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
No problem, dude. Take it easy.